In the ICT and business faculty, we've used digital technology an enormous amount to really improve the way that we mark and assess. For a start, we always did feel a little bit like the outliers in the school, not using books and completely focusing on computer-based education. But now everyone else does the same sort of thing. The way we mark is better understood and as a result, better quality assured in the school. Using the iPad has completely revolutionized the way that I mark in computer science. Being able to do video feedback, which is direct and personal on a programming piece of work, has been an absolute game changer for me. Using the iPad, I'm able to screen record going through a series of programming assessments, give direct voice feedback, and using the Apple Pencil, I'm able to illustrate and discuss ideas that I would otherwise not be able to or talk about in the abstract. And this allows a real concrete improvement in the coding ability of my students.
That code is missing from in there to allow you to get the full marks. I'm also a little concerned about this variable name. That variable, the name doesn't represent what it is. This is the width. So shouldn't this variable be called width? Because you've called the height. So that doesn't read very well. Now, it's obvious what you've done, and I'm not going to mark you down for it, but in future you need to make sure that all of your variable names make sense when you read them.
The feedback now is not tokenistic and written as it was before to meet a perceived notion of what assessment should be. Now assessment is bespoke and meaningful and has a direct impact on how well students can program. In ICT, we use a very iterative marking style, using all the features and functionality that the technology affords us. That means we can mark PDF snapshots of individual pieces of work using the Apple Pencil. Those of us that are more into Google Docs put revisions and comments and notes on it and use a bunch of plugins to be able to see the whole picture of how that document has improved. And what we end up with is a real, more industry-based working standard for how we assess. So we assess versions and we assess the real-time work, and it's improved iteratively and continuously. So the same piece of work that was started on in week 1 is completed in week 6, and you can see the entire history of those revisions and what impact that marking has. More than anything, being able to see impactful marking is what digital technology does for us. Oral feedback, of course, is a massive big deal in my faculty, and the ability to record and push that out has been really, really powerful.
Right, did we do objective 3? This success criteria is met. Here's some evidence. This success criteria is met. Here's some evidence. This success criteria is met. Here's some evidence. This part of design is a list of actually what you need to build. It's more like a checklist for yourself, really. So in order to achieve this success criteria on this objective, I need to build this, 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 and this.
Right. Okay.
But now you've built it, that should be a reasonably straightforward proposition. So don't write too much. It should be full bullet point sentences for each thing that you want to achieve.
For students who don't really particularly care about reading long passages of text, they are much more willing to sit there and listen to some audio feedback. And on top of that, video feedback has been an absolute stellar improvement. And that is simply recording students talking about a topic idea and me recording myself over the top of them and stopping the video occasionally and giving some feedback. This sets up a dialogue that you could never have outside of a one-to-one classroom environment in the past. And of course, due to the last few months and the last year of the pandemic, that level of one-to-one feedback that's recorded and evidenced and iteratively improved upon has that classroom feel that you just can't capture any other way. Using the Apple technology and the mobile devices makes that sort of marking ubiquitous around the school, and as a result has a massive improvement on the impact that that marking has on student achievement. Hello Dylan, hopefully this will be the feedback for your second video, so let's have a quick look. I'll pop myself in the corner and let's play.
Okay, so here's what I think the answering question page would look like when the pupil clicks the start/finish timer, the start timer. It'll start a timer and then also give them access to the text box.
So are you going to show them the question before the timer clicks, or when you click start, is the question going to appear? as maybe it would in a real exam situation.
I don't think the timer's gonna give them a time limit, but just show them how long they're spending on the question.
Why not have the option to do both? We could have the option, again, this could be from the user's point of view. Roughly speaking, on the computer science and IT exams, for instance, you have about a minute to a minute and a half per mark of the question. So you could roughly work out how long to give a person for a question, and then say, well, do you want to be limited to the time? So it cuts you off as the time is up, and you could see how much you would have got for that. Or, just a warning about when that time is. That'd be nice to have that as a bit of, as that flexibility.
We really feel as a faculty, as a school even, that we have reached an excellent point in our marking. But what has taken us even a step more into moving on to exceptional marking is the use of the Apple iPads. Now, in our school, every single student has an Apple iPad. The teachers have their MacBooks and iPads also. And now we have taken the scenario of, wouldn't it be lovely if instead of a student just reading a book, the lesson after you've marked it, wouldn't it be lovely for them to hear that feedback straight away? To have that instant comments on how they've done on their work. And sometimes as a teacher, I personally find it very frustrating when you're writing things down and you almost feel, if only I could speak to that student to let them know the information, wouldn't it come across far better, far more clearer if they could actually hear your voice? Now, by using things like QuickTime, Screencastify, and even Mote, we have now been able to achieve that. And what these apps do, they allow us as teachers to provide that feedback. It can be verbal, but also writing as well. And with something like QuickTime, you can even show your screen. So if a student has made an error or you want to improve on something, you can point that out. Now that student via Google Classroom can get that as soon as it is marked, and then they can provide some feedback back to us to show whether they've understood what we want from them, and their corrections then can be done and we can see that straight away. Now all this means that everything is done far more efficiently, it's far more beneficial, and it really gets that personal approach. Even within a lesson, you can use something like Peer Deck. Now that means that as a student is answering the questions, as a teacher, you are getting that feedback. Do they understand it? And then straight away, you can give those comments back. So really, this has been absolutely amazing in taking what has become an excellent marking policy to make it an exceptional one. Students love it, teachers love it. And I think it's fair to say it's not just Isaac Newton that's been inspired by an apple.
Within our faculty, we have developed a marking policy used by all teachers across all subjects. All work is completed by students on the iPad digitally, using the iPad and different apps, and recorded digitally then using portfolios for staff to mark. At lower schools, staff will PDF mark student work on the iPad, highlighting strengths, weaknesses and errors in literacy. This will happen every fortnight or when appropriate for the project. The PDF copy will appear below the main document for students to address during dirt time. Using the iPad allows students to view the marked copy and address any issues on the main folio in the Google Slides. The video resource attached was created by one of our staff to help students improve their work during lockdown. Since this video clip was produced, we are now using literacy codes with the students at all levels. After each data drop, we will inform the students of what level they are working at and what level they are targeting in the private comment of their Google Slides. At the end of each project, each student will receive detailed feedback explaining what went well, what level they are at this current time, and what they need to do to improve. For exam classes, we use a combination of iPad marking and marking using the MacBook. This allows us to add comments to each slide in the portfolio of work and the projects developed. Students will then react to the comments and discuss with the teacher during the lesson. One of the issues we needed to address while being totally digital was how can we evidence the changes students make to their work? How can we make this obvious to parents or someone outside of our faculty? Traditionally, students would simply make the changes directly onto the slides, erasing any mistakes made previously. One of the techniques we've now adopted is for students to duplicate that slide and then make the alterations underneath. This allows staff to see how students have reacted to comments made during marking sessions. This is clear and easy to read and stands out in their portfolios of work. We are now experimenting with using voice feedback on pupil work. Using Apple apps like Keynote and Pages, staff can quickly leave detailed feedback on students' work in a fraction of the time that it takes to write comments in a traditional way. This is something we hope will develop more as we increase the use of Apple Schoolwork with other year groups. I demonstrated to my staff how quick this can be in the next video tutorial shown. In less than 30 seconds I could provide meaningful feedback on a set piece of work and place it in an area which was easy for the students to find.
Morning Ayushi, really impressed with the work you've completed so far. Your blocks are very colourful and drawn correctly, and you made a good effort to add the wood grain onto the wooden block. One thing I would like you to do to improve, I would like you to select your images, use the border tool so it gives it a bit more of a stronger outline around the outsides of your shapes, and also try the shadow tool to give it a bit more depth. Very good work so far, really impressed with your effort, well done. Morning Ayushi, really impressed with the work you've completed so far. Your blocks are very colourful and drawn correctly, and you made a good effort to add the wood grain onto the wooden block. One thing I would like you to do to improve, I would like you to select your images, use the border tool so it gives it a bit more of a stronger outline around the outsides of your shapes, and also try the shadow tool to give it a bit more depth. Very good work so far, really impressed with your effort, well done.